In this pencast, we're going to be solving systems of equations where at least one of the equations is quadratic. Alright, so this problem says solve the system of equations x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals y and x plus y plus 2 equals 0. Alright, so let's start by solving the second equation for y. So let's call this equation 1 and the second one equation 2. So we're going to solve equation 2 for y. So we have x plus y plus 2 equals 0. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. We're going to end up with x plus y equals negative 2. Now we're going to subtract x from both sides and end up with y equals negative 2 minus x. Alright, so now we can plug that into equation 1. Alright, so that's going to give us x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals negative 2 minus x. Alright, so now in order to solve this quadratic equation, we need to set it equal to 0. So we need to add 2 to both sides. We'll get x squared minus 5x plus 3 equals negative x. We'll add x to both sides. And we'll get x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. Alright, so at this point we have a quadratic equation that we know how to solve. So let's try to factor this. So we're going to come up with x and x. So we're going to look for factors of 3, right? So of 3. So there are positive and negative 3, positive and negative 1 are the only factors of 3, right? So we're trying to fill in these blanks here. Alright, so we know that we need to come up with negative 4 in the middle. So we need things that multiply to give us 3 and add to give us negative 4. So that means that we're going to use the negative 3 and the negative 1. So we're going to have x minus 3, x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, so now that we've factored that, we just need to solve for x. So we're going to set each one of these equal to 0. So x minus 3 is equal to 0, and x minus 1 is equal to 0. So to solve x minus 3 equals 0, we add 3 to both sides, and we end up with x equals 3. To solve x minus 1 equals 0, we just add 1 to both sides, we get x equals 1. Alright, so now that we know what x is, so let's circle those answers, or box those answers right there. Now that we know what x is, the next step is to plug in x and solve for y. Now we could do that in either equation, but it's way easier to do in equation 2. So let's go in equation 2 right here. So x plus y plus 2 equals 0. Alright, so let's plug in x equals 3. So we have 3 plus y plus 2 equals 0. So that's the same as y plus 5 equals 0. So when we subtract 5 from both sides, we get y equals negative 5. So our first solution is x equals 3, y equals negative 5. Now we need to use our other value for x. So we have 1 plus y plus 2 equals 0. So y plus 3 equals 0. So we need to subtract 3 from both sides, and we get y equals negative 3. So our second answer is x equals 1, y equals negative 3. Alright, so those are our answers for this system of equations.